Hey Leah, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
But why are there pictures of you on your background?
Well, you said we were talking about identity today, and these are
Yes.
my identities.
Okay.
And I couldn't pick, so I just have all of them here with me.
I'm Lamont, your black Costa Rican mister.
And I'm Leah. That's it. And
Alright. And you're tuning in to
into
the Lamont
and
and Leah
Leah podcast.
podcast. Leah, a few weeks ago we talked about love languages.
hmm
And we originally did love languages, I was trying to get a guess. But then I ultimately felt, or we felt, that we just wanted it to be us. So it was us. But I had asked a lot of people, like, who would be interested. And I actually got quite a few responses. The gentleman that will be joining us today responded to that.
Okay.
And what I did was, like, I didn't want to be a jerk, be like, oh no, we got it, we changed our minds. So like, I offered everyone who responded like different
Topics.
ideas
Yeah.
that we're going to be talking about,
Uh-huh.
and this I think this was actually one of his ideas, but I
Oh,
really was
okay.
into it. So I was like, ooh, we should talk about identity because identity is so much involved in who we are, and
Uh-huh.
we're gonna be talking about so many other things that I'm gonna want to refer back probably to this episode. So that
Okay.
was kind of like my thought process. So today we're talking about the power of identity.
Okay.
Our special guest is John Pearson, and he is a happily married man. He is a guitar player. He plays
Hmm.
acoustic, and Leah, you're gonna appreciate this, hard rock. And he is a reformed know-it-all.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He has been involved in Christian ministries 35 years and plus.
Okay.
Now, John wanted to talk to me to see if he would even be a good fit for this show.
hmm
And we ended up talking, I think, an hour and a half, two
Wow.
hours. It
hmm
was like a really long conversation that I did not intend to have, but like it just happened.
It just be
So
like
I want to do a disclaimer.
hmm
I want to do a disclaimer because just knowing like him for the like hour, 2 hours I've known him, there might be spirituality talked about and
Mm.
Christ and God. So once again, if you're not comfortable with that, you are free to like skip this episode and tune in next week.
All
Um,
right.
just in case he does go there, which I do have a feeling that that might happen.
Okay.
So, all right,
Sounds
let's.
good. Thanks for the disclaimer.
No problem. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Are you ready?
No, I'm John. Helen's ready.
All right. So today we have John. John, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, I'm John Pearson. Live in Lexington, Kentucky. Grew up in Dayton, Ohio area. I have published a couple of books. One's on prayer. It's a prayer manual. Another is a 3 volume set of books that I transcribed parts of my personal journals into to show people how God's been working in my life since the mid 80s. I happily married to my wife, Marie. I started a business a year ago to do Christian ministry. It's called B for Eternity. It's a letter B, the number four in the word eternity. And its purpose is to empower God's people to become who He created them to be. So, grew up loving baseball. I used to play it 24/7. And then as an adult, I got more into music. Love playing mellow stuff on acoustic and high energy in your face rock and roll on my electric. I don't do jazz and I don't twang.
So today's main topic is identity, and we're talking about the power of identity. So before we even start our conversation, John, um, I have a question that will kind of like help us like develop. Hold on, develop our conversation. So, first question: what is identity? How would we define it?
Well, I don't know how you define it. Identity is one of those terms that I think is ambiguous and a bit esoteric. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Christian, and so most of my process of trying to understand identity comes from Scripture, and it comes through my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Old Testament, in kind of the way I put identity together, it's our name, it's our character, it's who we are, and it's how we want to be perceived and
Mm-hmm.
by others in the world and stuff. And I, in the book of Genesis, there's the story about the Tower of Babel. Most people have heard about the Tower of Babel, and it talks about how the people in Babel decided to build this tower because they wanted to make a name for themselves. And that Hebrew word for the word name is the word shame, but it's not spelled S-H-A-M-E, it's spelled S-H-E-M, but it's pronounced shame. And that means like a logo
Mm-hmm.
or a tattoo or something. It's if you see a black circle with two little black circles on the sides, what do you initially think of?
Mickey Mouse.
There you go. So that's what the word for name in the Old Testament means. It is an identifier that people recognize. And then with that, there's just a whole plethora of information that you instantly know
Mm-hmm.
about someone or something because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But biblically, it means it really talks about a person's character. It's not the name that you use to call someone or get their attention or identify them in that way. It really is their whole person. It's everything about them. And in the Jewish nation, it wasn't just you, it was your whole family tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, if you had somebody that was a little off color in your family's history, then you were associated with that totally and completely. That was part of your identity and so on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and I think we've seen it in movies, like too, like how that can play out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we live in a time where people are really struggling with what identity means,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's really a very common topic. I don't want to say hot topic so much, but it's something on a lot of people's minds and hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of that reason is that people are looking to be known in their authentic self
Mm-hmm.
and be accepted as their authentic self.
Yeah.
And so everyone's trying to figure out, what is my personal identity, and how do I express that to people, and how do I find a way to live into that in peace with other people,
For sure. Leah, what are your thoughts on identity? How would you define it?
Um, how would I define it? I was trying to think of that while we were talking about like doing this episode. I guess like you said, it's kind of like all parts of you coming together to represent yourself. Like John mentioned name. Like that's a really good one. For myself, I use my ethnicity as an identity. I think there are a lot of different like facets to someone's identity, and I guess it would change depending on who you are. That's I guess that's what I gotta say. I don't know. How do I
Yeah,
put
Yeah.
it into
Leah, I
words?
think you're kind of right. I think identity encompasses memories, experiences, relationships, and it changes over time. And things don't necessarily go away, but new things are introduced, and you adapt that to your core, and that's kind of like how identity works. So, example, Leah, Hawaiian, Christian, Adventist. That was like your original core growing up. Still believes in treating people with love and respect and genuineness. Maybe not so much identifying as Christian, but is on your own spiritual journey to figure out who you are and what you believe, right? It's changed, it's shifted just a little bit. But
Yeah, it
there's
definitely
still a
has.
lot of
Yeah.
core things about you that hasn't changed since childhood.
You know, as I'm listening to the conversation, the thought struck me that I think everybody probably has a definition, or they know what identity is, even if they can't state it. I think everybody intrinsically within their own heart, they just understand what identity is to a degree, you know.
Yeah. So identity can be like so many facets. It includes qualities, beliefs, personalities, the way you look. Like Leah is probably gonna have dyed hair or some part of her hair dyed probably for the rest of her life.
Probably.
That's just gonna be like who she is. I feel like I don't always wear hats, but I wear a lot of hats, so it's not uncommon to like see Lamont in a hat or a cap and like have a picture in a hat or a cap somewhere on his social media. Like it's gonna be there. Like
Lamont's previous identity was spiky hair.
oh my gosh, I tried to make that work so much in high school. Man. Got over that. So that changed. But that was like, I wanted spiky hair. I wanted to be the black guy with spiky hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to be the guy with hair, you know.
And now there's not so much.
Yeah. Yes, my true self is now exposed.
All right. So we're kind of teetering on the subject, but like, if everyone can identify or everyone could have a definition for identity, why do we as a person, as a people, find it so important?
Is that for me?
Yeah, or Leah, or whoever.
Whoever, when you talk. I think people just want to be an individual, and I think without a certain identity, we can feel like we're getting lost or we're just like another person, insignificant. I think having your own self-identity makes you feel more significant in a way, I think.
In a way, for sure.
What do you think about that?
I'm having lots of thoughts come in. I'm thinking, so Leah, you're in your 20s. I'm in my 30s. John, you're older, right?
He's in his 40s.
Oh, you're 60. Okay, cool. So, I know my experience in my 30s is being more stable and more comfortable in just who I am versus my 20s, which I was not necessarily trying to conform, but it was definitely leading me onto like this path that I'm on now. Where I was kind of stable, but kind of willing to like not like maybe stand up or do different things because I didn't want to be like outcast. I still kind of wanted to fit in, and now I just like, who cares if I fit in or not? I will find the right people. And Leah, I'm not sure where you are in that journey.
At my computer editing. That's all I do. That is now my identity.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a lifelong exploration to discover who we truly are. And you used the word significant, Leah, and I think that draws us closer to the core. I think that we all want to have value to one another. As I've meditated on this, one of the truths about mankind is people want to belong, they want to be accepted, they want to know that they matter to someone else. And in the process of trying to find those relationships or that community, many people project a false identity or a false image in hopes of being accepted into something, and they are afraid to put their true identity out there because it's not as painful to be rejected in a false identity that you know wasn't you anyway. But if your true identity is rejected, that's a much more painful experience. And that's why if you really connecting in community or in relationship with people, Leah, you're engaged right now. You know, a lot of people have gotten to the altar and found out that their spouse decided, I don't want to do this. And when you've opened yourself up that much to someone and then you find out that they don't want you, that's much more painful than if you're, you know, just putting on an act, you know, in school or at work or something to get people to like you. So I think that I think it's a need. Some people may just call it a desire, but I think we have a need to be connected relationally with others, and we want to be connected relationally with others, and we want to bring our true, authentic self into relationship and be able to rest with someone else and not have to work at it, but just relax and be yourself and not worry about it, you know. And I have a friend once, he told me, he said, friendship is knowing that you can go to somebody's home and you can let yourself in the door without knocking. You can go get a sandwich out of the fridge and a beer, and you can go watch their TV and not even have to interact with them if they're busy doing something, but you can just be present in their home with them. And that you don't have to do anything relationally to be in relationship with them and so on.
I agree. That makes sense. Lamont.
So I know for a long time, like, I used to think of identity as important because I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be accepted. So, like, growing up Christian, like, I had to be the best Christian, know all the Bible verses and stories, because, like, I need to be able to fit in and know what everyone's talking about and be able to, like, jump into any conversation because I wanted to be, like, included in and stuff. And then learning about my pansexual identity, like, well, what is hookup culture? What is this? What is this? Let me get involved. Well, I know I'm not okay with drugs. Like, definitely not okay with drugs. So I'm going to be, like, standing out just a little bit of the culture. But hey, like, I can do everything else. I can dance without being high or drinking. I can hang out with people, tell jokes, whatever. I can wear, like, crazy stuff without, like, other influences. Like, let's do this, right? To just, like, finding out, like, maybe I don't need to go out to, like, all that craziness and all those bars and all the pride different things, even though I do love going to prides. Well, like, but maybe I don't need those. Maybe I'm okay just, like, spreading love and truth and genuine and acceptedness and being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's when you start being able to live into your genuine identity, your authentic self. You know, as I've considered this topic, one of the thoughts that I come back to is how and the thoughts slip in my mind. It deals with authenticity, right? We really want to be able to live in our authentic self. And our authentic self, as I believe we were designed by God, is a self that isn't focused on what we can get from other people. It's focused on just being present and being a blessing to others. So I believe that with my mission statement being to help people become who God created them to be, I believe that every single person in this world is a gift to the rest of mankind. Now, Lamont, I realize that you're going to say you're God's gift to women or God's gift to men, but that's not where I'm going with that. But we are all given specific talents. And, you know, we all are given a way of thinking. Now, there's some ways of thinking that are learned, but the Gallup organization, I was talking with you about this last week, Lamont, they created a survey, 180 question survey to help you understand your cognitive thinking, your knee-jerk reaction to life. That's your cognitive thinking without really thinking about how to respond. You just do it. And so they've established that they call them themes or strengths. And there's like 32 different themes that they've found. And so one of them's called woo, which is winning others over. Those are people that can walk into a party and they have the ability to work the room. And when they leave, everybody likes them, right? That's just a way of thinking and interacting with people. One of mine is strategic. So like in an organizational setting or when I'm working on software or something, I see the whole of something and I see all the different parts and how the different parts can work together, or I want to understand how those all work together. So that's a way of thinking. There's one called competitiveness. That person just wants to win. That's just the way they're wired. And these are something that you're born with. It's not something that you learn. And I think that all of us were born with certain physical abilities. Some people are great athletes. Others, like my wife, she paints and she couldn't outrun a squirrel probably. You know, she has trouble outrunning the 2-year-old granddaughter that she's got right now. But you hand her a paintbrush and she can paint the hairs on a cat in a painting. And I'm like, I have no clue how anybody can be so patient to do that. So I think that we all have different gifts and talents and abilities that are unique to each of us. And those were not given to us so that we could use them to acquire stuff, which is what we do in life. We're taught, you know, you got to go out and make a living. You got to do this, you got to do that. So you have to use all of this talent to acquire so you can have the money, so you can go acquire stuff with the money. And life is all about what you have, not who you are. When I believe that when we really learn to rest in our true identity, when we no longer need to use people to get validated or to feel significant, as Leah said, when we get past that point and we can just rest in it and we don't care if people like us or don't like us, accept us or don't accept us or whatever, when we can just give ourselves away from people, that's when we begin to walk in our true identity, when we just don't care. And you reach a place where you realize all of us are broken. All of us have got issues in life. You know, all of us have grown up in environments where family and friends and strangers didn't treat us well. We have our wounds. We all learn to deal with those wounds, deal with those relationships. We create false selves to deal with that, in the sense that Eddie Murphy commented once in an interview that he became a comedian while he was in jail because he found that if he could get the guys that wanted to beat him up every day laughing, they wouldn't beat him up. They'd say, tell me another joke. And so Eddie Murphy became a comedian. He developed that persona or that identity in order to not, deal with physical harm. And so we all learned how to deal with life, and we build identity. We build behavioral responses to things that keep us safe and empower us to be able to navigate relationships and stuff. Yeah. But those are all false identities. And when we can really reach a place where we let our guard down and we can be in a safe place to do that, and we need safe places, safe relationships where we can do that, to learn to do that. When we get to that place, then we no longer need to get things from people, and then we can give ourselves away. And when we really feel secure in ourselves and don't need things from people, we don't care if we're accepted or rejected. And I'm in my journey, I'm not there yet, obviously, but I'm in a place now where I understand the brokenness of people. And so when people reject me or people are violent towards me, whether it's in words or actions, when people do things that just wound me and stuff, there's a part of me now that just rests in the reality that everybody's given life their best shot. and everybody's trying to do life. And if they've wounded me, it's because that's the best they can do. And most people don't want to wound anybody else. They want to live in harmony and peace with other people. But in terms of our identity, when we learn to just rest, our identity just emerges when we no longer have to create a false identity. And from my perspective, most of us, we have society, and it's not just in the US. I think all of mankind, since the Tower of Babel at least, we've tried to create false identities because we want to be known, because we want to be valued, we want to be significant to other people. And so one of the articles I read 5 or 6 years ago, it was there was a high profile football player that had committed suicide. And so the NFL started looking at, head trauma and all this stuff, what leads players to do that. And one of the things that they found was that when players reach the end of their sports career, they're left in kind of a vacuum. They're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And that whole question is rooted in the fact that they've lived probably 25 years of their life pursuing a sport talent, or trying to acquire that talent and refine that talent and perfect that talent so that they could play the sport. But then they reach the end of the sport, when they can play it, everybody's body wears out. I mean, right now, the oldest quarterback is who plays with the Buccaneers now, that played with Patriots, Tom Brady. He's trying to make 45. He's 43. He's like, I'm trying to make it to 45, but he knows he has a shelf life.
Yeah.
And a lot of athletes, when they get to a place where they can no longer do their athletics, they end up in a vacuum, and they're like, who am I? I spent my whole life being this sports person. And then they're like, well, wait a minute, is that really who I am, or is that what I was doing with life? And then they go through a identity crisis. They go through a place, and some of them can't deal with it. They're just like, I don't have value to anyone anymore. And they haven't learned yet that we all have value, that and our value isn't based on what other people think about us. Our value is really based within us. If I can believe that I have value, and I believe, for myself as a Christian, that sense of value comes from my relationship with God. It doesn't come from people around me now. And when I was younger, it did. I learned to play a guitar because I wanted to have value to people. I studied my butt off. I loved knowledge because I wanted to be the answer man, because I thought that made me valuable to people. And the truth is, I got that reward sometimes. If you had the answer to a question somebody wants, well, they brighten up a little bit, like, oh, wow, cool, and when I was learning to play guitar, I was practicing 2 to 4 hours a day, every day. And I reached a point of talent where I could sit in a music store and people would walk around the end cap to see who was playing when I was sitting there just doodling on a guitar, because I had acquired enough talent. I had worked at it, right? I developed the skill, and I thought that made me valuable. And then I learned the hard lesson that, well, if people value you because of what you can do, they're only going to value you as long as you can do it. And then the truth is, if they don't value you when you can't do that anymore, they never valued you to begin with. What they valued was what you could do. And I think intrinsically in every single one of our hearts, we don't want people to value us because of what we can do for them, what they can get from us. We want to look into another face, in the eyes of another person, and know that they think we have value, that they love us, and there's nothing we need to do in order to have that love relationship with them.
Yeah.
That gets back to your word significant, Leah.
Yeah, I agree. That really speaks to, people doing like the soul searching thing, like finding out who they really are inside. I don't think there's a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say it that way, but I think there's a lot of people who don't take the time to do that because they think, okay, well, yeah, I'm a football player. I'm good. That's who I am. That's it. But like we said earlier, there's like different facets to who every person is, and I've heard from a few people that I know that like soul searching is silly. I don't need to do that, but I don't know. I think it might be I think it might be pretty important to like find out like, hey, well, deep inside at my core, who am I? How am I significant? How am I valuable? That's wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Like, how do I make impact or significant impact?
Yeah.
And actually, Lamont, when I hear that, I hear, okay, now I have to do something to have
Yeah.
value, right? So I don't have to make an impact. If we can get past that thinking that I have to do something in order for people to think I'm significant, one of the analogies that God's Spirit gave me once was, within the Christian church, right? When somebody comes to a faith in Christ, well, then there's all these expectations about what you have to go and do now because, well, God died for you. God saved you. God did all this stuff. Now you got to go do all this stuff. And God gave me this mental image one day of a child that's born and their legs are just messed up and they will never walk because they can't. Their legs are never, ever going to work, right? They will be lame their whole life. And so we look upon someone like that and it's like, oh, that poor person, their legs are messed up, right? And God said, you know what? He said, if the church healed this child's legs, they would have a whole bunch of expectations about the child. He said, if I heal the child's legs, I have zero expectations about the child. And he said, I wouldn't heal the legs because of what I want the child to do for me. I would heal the legs of the child because I want the child to be able to live the life of a child. And when a child has legs, they'll just go and be a child, right? So he's like, if I do that, he says, what's a child going to do? Well, they're going to run. They're going to skip. They're going to hop. They're going to stand. They're going to kneel. They're going to run to the monkey bars and climb. They're going to get on the swing and swing. They're going to do all the things that a child with healthy legs can do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, we look at one another and we say, well, you've got healthy legs, so you need to hop for me today because you have healthy legs, or you need to run because you have healthy legs. You need to climb because you got healthy legs. God looks at us and says, you don't need to do anything. And, I love you and I wanted you to have healthy legs because you will have a blast with healthy legs. You're going to love having healthy legs. And so if God was to heal the child, he would simply take joy in the moment of watching the child do what a child can do with healthy legs.
Yeah.
The church, on the other hand, has tended to say, well, now that you got healthy legs, well, now you have to do the stuff that you're supposed to do with healthy legs, because that's why God gave you healthy legs, because he didn't want you sitting around doing nothing. He wants you to get up and go do what you can do with healthy legs. And so your kids will go play kickball. Today is your kickball day, or, today is your climb the monkey bar day and stuff like that. And so this whole identity thing, I live in the belief, and I rest in the belief that I think that we're all created, that we're all specifically created as we are. We are handed the hand that we're going to play. If you make it a card mentality, a card game, we're all dealt a hand, and we can only play the game of life with the hand we've been dealt. Understanding what cards we got and how to use them well is good, but God doesn't look at some of us and say, well, Michael Jordan, he's my favorite basketball player because he's Michael and look what he's done. Or looking at Kobe Bryant, these guys and saying, well, there's the ones that God looks at everybody that plays basketball and says, look at them, they're having a blast. Isn't this wonderful? He enjoys watching people do that. In fact, he told me once, he says, he's like a father that has a kid that wants to play the game. And he looks at his son before he sends him out to play the game. And he says, son, you're going to go play this game. And you're going to be a little bit better at playing this game when you come off of the court than you were before you went on the court. And you may win or you may lose this game. But I don't take joy in the fact that you win or lose the game. I take joy in the fact that you went out and played the game. and that when you come off of that field, you're a little bit better at playing the game. And whether you win or lose, we're going down to the ice cream store afterward because you're my son and I want to have some ice cream with you. And we, as human beings, we do not give one another that kind of love and that kind of grace. We look at folks and say, who's the best person on the court, rather than looking at it and saying, man, look at these guys, man, they're giving it their best shot. I just watched the NCAA basketball last night. Man, UCLA, are you a UCLA fan, Lamont, in California?
Kind of, sort of, not really. Like, I like UCLA. I like
Yeah.
what they do. They have an amazing person that they produce from there, my brother, Jesse.
Okay.
He went there, he works there, like, so I appreciate them in that sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that was do you watch basketball at all? Because it was a great game. I mean, it was neck and neck, and they ended up going into an overtime, and it was neck and neck, and it came down to a shot that had like 0.02 seconds on the clock when the guy took the shot, and Gonzaga won. The guy banked it in from like 40 or 50 feet out. It was just one of those, but from God's perspective, he took joy in the competition, and he took joy in all the players giving that game their best shot.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them grew a little bit as basketball players in the process. But the world looks at that. The world is not going to talk about the valiant effort that UCLA made in that game as much as they will talk about the valiant effort that Gonzaga made in the game. And that's just human nature. And so, but and then feeding all this back into identity, as human beings, we look at where the reward is, and we want the reward. We want to have value. People want to be number one in the sports because they want the value, they want the fame, they want the pat on the back, they want the affirmation and stuff. But that's not where our identity and our value lies. If we can reach a place where we know I get up this morning and I have value because I am present in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else around me is valued because they are present in this world, and then treating each other that we are valuable and so on, and that's a hard place to get to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Wow, you said so much. Like, there was so much said. But we do need to kind of wrap it up. So, like, in wrapping
Okay.
it up, I kind of want to review, like, just a couple of things. You talked about where we, like, might lose identity, or where identity becomes, like,
Not authentic.
yeah, not authentic, a little bit false stuff. You've talked about value, why we do certain things, and the importance of value. You've talked about, what else did you talk about, Leah? Like, there's so much. Like,
How people's value is not by the things they do, but just by them existing.
I want to tell a story, and I saw the story on TikTok, so Leah, you would appreciate it. There's this guy on TikTok who brought a $100 bill on, and he was like, "This is a $100 bill," and then he crumples it up, and he was like, "Is it still? What is this? It's still a $100 bill." He throws it on the floor and he stomps it, and he's like, and then picks it up. What is this? It's still a $100 bill, and his whole point was like, we might go through things, we might experience hard times or tragedies. We are no less valuable than what
Yes.
we were before.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
kind of feel like you were kind of saying that throughout all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, like, that is part of our identity. So I think that goes along with our identities. Like, we might have so many different identities. Speaking of which, let's name a few of our identities, right? I am Black. I'm Costa Rican. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm pansexual. I work in mental health, so I'm a mental health worker. I'm a student. I'm a grad student. I'm a podcaster. I am spiritual. I believe in equality. These are like a lot of different, like a lot of my different like places that I fit in, right? What are some of your guys's?
Well, I'm a strategic thinker. I am a man. I am married. I'm a son. I'm not a father, haven't had any children, but I am a stepfather and a step grandfather. I'm a musician. I love movies. I like to read and grow intellectually. I'm an intellectual person. I'm a Christian. I love doing ministry. I love helping people grow. I used to have hair, but now my identity is baldy. So,
Let's see. I'm Hawaiian.
Yes.
I am a woman.
Yes.
An artist. I don't know. There we go.
Leah,
That's it.
you're a sister.
Okay, yeah. I'm a sister.
You're a fiance.
Daughter.
You're a dog owner.
I am. Okay.
What else can we say?
Dog mommy. Um, daughter. I don't know. Business owner.
yeah.
You
And
are
a
a business owner.
And a diehard.
There's just so many different parts of us. And if you're listening or if you're watching, please comment. Give me a list of like how you identify. I want to know. We want to know. Leah and I want to know.
Alrighty. Game time. I'm excited for this one.
All right, I'm a little excited too. I'm living my worst nightmare. I never wanted to be one of those hosts that wear headphones.
It's okay. It'll be temporary. But yes, Lamont, I have asked you to wear headphones today because we are going to play the ASMR guessing game.
Okay.
Do you know what ASMR is?
No.
I don't know what the acronym stands for, so don't ask me. It'll be on the screen if you are watching this, and if you are listening to this, you're just going to have to Google it.
Oh my Lord.
So basically what we're going to do, and this is how it ties in today's subject, is I am going to make a noise, which is why you need headphones,
Okay.
and you are going to identify it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now
All right.
Now here's the trick, Lamont. You can't look, so you're going to have to close your eyes too.
All right. I'm just gonna trust myself not to cheat. I'm gonna take off my glasses so it's all blurry. I'm just gonna close my eyes.
Okay. All right, and I'm going to move my little windscreen so we can get the most out of our audio here.
Okay.
Are you ready, Lamont?
I believe so.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to speak. Can you hear me still?
I can still hear you.
Okay, I don't want to speak too loud because I turned my microphone volume up really high.
Okay.
Okay, ready? This is the first sound.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, here it is again.
Please tell me like it's Jello or something. Like there's a spoon and like something squishy involved. Please.
All right, do you have any guesses?
Like some liquidy food thingy with a spoon.
You're very close. You can open your eyes now.
Oh, it's a Starbucks drink.
Before it had ice in it earlier, so it made like a but the ice melted.
Okay, so were you slurping it?
No, I was just shaking it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Next sound. Are you ready?
Alright, I'm gonna close my eyes. All
Okay.
right, yeah.
Ready? Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Is that a straw?
No.
I don't know.
Open your eyes.
Very cool.
Okay, next one. Ready?
I'm guessing either fabric or rustling the paper or something like that.
Close. What is it?
It's not fabric?
Nope.
I don't know.
All right, open your eyes.
Oh, it was rustling a paper. That's a tissue paper. I was right.
Napkin.
Whatever.
I said you
was
were close. Okay, next one. Ready?
Okay. Is that a cup? What is that? Sounds like a bell, like a bad bell, like one of those bad bells that cows wear, like when they walk.
All right, any other guesses?
No other guesses.
All right, open your eyes. It's a can.
It's a can? Oh.
All right, I have two more.
All right.
Okay, ready?
A pin.
Yay! You got it.
Okay. Yay.
Okay, last one.
All right. Are you scratching something?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, open your eyes.
You're playing with your hair? Pulling your hair apart? Should your hair make that noise? Do you go to the doctor? No, I'm just joking.
All right. Lamont, you're doing very good at this game.
No, not really.
All right, well, thank you for participating anyway. All right, Lamont, I really enjoyed our discussion with Mr. John, but he brought up a lot of other topics.
He did, and he had so many great points.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not really sure if this episode is really all about identity.
I think identity reaches into so many different parts of our lives.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to just stick directly to identity. But out of his conversation, out of all that information that he had, some things stood out to me. Mm-hmm. So let me think. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. While you're thinking. I do like the correlation he was making between value and identity. I think that is really important. And he's given us a lot of more topics to bring up in the future. So more than likely, we will have another episode or two on the concept or the idea of identity, just to kind of follow up with this one, continue where we left off. But yes, Lamont, what stood out to you about what he was saying?
So 3 key elements, I think. One would be discovering and developing one's potential. We kind of touched on that a little bit. Yeah. And what identity is about searching and developing that potential, right? The second thing that I picked up is choosing one's purpose in life. Just because I'm a football star doesn't mean that's all I'm going to be. It's only a part of what I'm going to be, and my purpose can be so much bigger. I loved when he said, we are gifts to each other, and we need to treat each other that way.
I agree.
And then lastly, finding opportunities to exercise that potential and that purpose. That's kind of the message that I got.
Yeah.
Out of everything.
And he was really driving home the concept of your value isn't based on what you can do for people. Your value exists because you exist. And I do like that. I think that's really special. And a really good point for people who may be struggling with identity or trying to find out who they are. You know, like your value isn't based off of, you know, what others think of you and what you can do for people. Like you are valuable just being you and being intrinsically yourself. So I really liked that idea.
I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Leia and I are telling you guys right now that you are valuable, you are worthy, and own it, claim it as part of your identity, and watch how you grow in your life. To help us wrap up, Leia, I have this video for us. Are you
Okay.
ready for this
Let's
video?
watch a video.
Did you know that you are incredible? One of a kind. And there is no one else on this planet who is exactly like you. Pretty awesome, huh?
Pretty awesome.
But hang on, what exactly is it that makes you, you? Is it your personality? Or the way you look? Perhaps it's the way you think. Or what you believe. Maybe it's what you like to do. Or simply where you come from. Well, the truth is, all of these things are what make you you. This is called our identity. You see, our identity is like a little recipe.
Ooh, recipe.
When you bake a cake, you use lots of different ingredients. The ingredients by themselves do not make the cake, but put them together and you have a masterpiece. So, just like a cake, our identity is made up of lots of different parts. And different parts will make different people, just as different ingredients will make different cakes. And difference is great. After all, the world would be a pretty boring place if we were all exactly the same. A big part of our identity is our values. What do we value? What do we think is important? What do we think is right and wrong? Sometimes this part of our identity is called our core values. Some parts of our identity might stay the same our whole life. Parts like our skin colour or where our family is from. Other parts, like our hobbies, how we like to dress, and even our thoughts, may change as we grow and learn more about ourselves and the world. We should all be proud of our identities because it is who we are.
So, Leia, what are your thoughts?
I love videos like that. I think they're always so much easier to understand. I know they're for kids, but they can be for anyone, you know? And the video really ties into what we were saying at the beginning. Like, every little thing is part of the recipe that makes you. I love the idea of recipe. That's a really great way of explaining it. And we're definitely going to have more episodes about identity. Like we are. It's
going to be woven into so many different topics, I feel. That's why I was like, we need to talk about it.
Yeah. Because like the video said, every thing that makes you is is part of your identity, and that can just go over all of our different subjects. I just repeated like the same thing in a different way, but like you get what I'm trying to say, right?
I get what you're trying to say. I feel you.
Lamont, any closing words that you'd like to add in?
Today was a great day. I'm glad John came. He has a lot of insight. You can tell he's lived life and has gone through experiences. And I look forward to living my life and making my own experiences. And I look forward to podcasting with you some more, Leah.
I do too.
John, thank you so much for coming on and talking with Leah and myself today. Do you have any big plans or projects coming up that you would like to share with us?
Well, I am trying to get a YouTube channel launched for my business Before Eternity. And with that, I've got about 5 different themes I'm going to run with that. So that's going on, and just trying to enjoy grandkids. You know, that's the biggest thing in life. My wife and my grandkids. Yesterday, my wife, we moved into a new home last June, and she's been wanting to get raised bed garden put in. And so we bought a couple kits, and then we spent about 6 or 7 hours yesterday moving dirt and putting them together and just having all kinds of fun with that. she had fun with that. I don't like gardening.
But you were there giving her quality time.
Hey, you know what? I had a friend once that had a thing on the refrigerator magnet that said, "You've never seen a husband shot while doing the dishes." So I learned a long time ago that a woman's love language, you were originally asked people to talk about love languages, but I think a woman's love language always, every one of them has a certain degree of service, of people doing things. So when I did that yesterday for my wife, my value went through the roof with her. She was feeling very valued that I would invest that, knowing that I could care less about gardening and raised bed gardens and stuff. And but yeah, just trying to get my YouTube thing going, and hopefully the next couple or 3 weeks. I've been struggling with this for a year, podcasting and getting podcasting and YouTube going, but I think I'm past most of the hurdles, and I'll be able to get that up and running, and then I can talk about life.
All right. We look forward to that.
And you guys are awesome. I feel very, very privileged to have spent some time with you today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're privileged too, John. And if people wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to do that?
They can go to my website, beforeternity.com. That's the letter B, the number 4, and the word eternity. And there's a contact page on there on the website, and they can just send me an email or something through that, and then we can begin contact. Or they could look me up on Facebook. I'm on there. My business also has a page on Facebook, but I don't really contact through that. But they could use Messenger or something to reach out.
Okay. And of course, all those links will be in our show description.
Oh.
And then finally, John, do you have a message for all of us today? Like a final message, like just for everyone in general.
Final message. Just the core of what we've been talking about, Lamont. Every one of us is a gift to everybody else. Whether anybody else appreciates the gift or not is irrelevant. Every single person is given very unique and specific gifts and talents to bless everybody else with. And when we receive what others offer, that's one of the highest expressions of love. Even if we don't need what they're offering, when we just let them give themselves to us, they feel loved. And I think the world becomes a better place when we just receive people as they are and let them be themselves.
I agree.
That is beautiful. I loved all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Privilege.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for everyone for watching and listening.
So today's life lesson is you are unique and it's worth celebrating. So what do you stand for? What opinions do you have? What is your expertise? How do you introduce yourselves to others? How do you filter or perceive your information? As you answer each of these questions in your head or out loud, it doesn't matter, know that your identity plays a role. Know that you are special and unique. Know that you matter. If you embrace these truths, see how your heart glows. And that is today's life lesson.